We learned a lot of important points about OSPF. Open Shortest Path First is an industry standard routing protocol. It is a link state routing protocol. It uses bandwidth to calculate the cost. Based on the cost, the path is determined. So lesser the number, lower the cost, better is the route. Cost is the metric. And then OSPF uses areas. Area 0 is the backbone area. Always 0. You cannot make any other number to be a backbone area. It is 0 only. Backbone area. The reason why we have the hierarchy design is you got an ABR where you can do summarization, which will reduce the amount of updates that will be flooded, which will reduce the bandwidth utilization, which will reduce the process utilization, which will reduce the size of the routing table. So a lot of advantage because of this area design. If we don't have these areas, it is not possible for OSPF to have an unlimited hop count support. We also focused on different IDs that we have in OSPF. Number one, router ID. The router ID is a unique identification given to a router. This can be configured. If we don't configure, it will pick the loopback interface IP address as the router ID. What if I have more than one loopback interface with addresses? Then the biggest address among this loopback interface addresses is going to be picked up. What if there is no what if I don't have router ID configured manually? I don't have loopback interface. Then the router will pick the highest IP address from the physical interface. So more weightage is given for the manual configuration of router ID. So while you start configuring OSPF, you have to configure manually if you are planning to give manually. Otherwise, what happens? It will pick dynamically one routing, one IP address as a router ID, and shares that ID with the neighbor. After which, if you configure manually, it won't accept. It will say you need to restart to. It will accept, but it won't make it active. It will say you need to restart. Let me repeat what I'm saying. Listen. Router ID manual is what router will prefer. If you don't configure manually router ID, it will take it from the loopback interface. If you have multiple loopback interface with addresses, the biggest IP address from the loopback interface is going to be taken. If the loopback interfaces are not created, no address in the loopback interface, and there is no manual configuration, the third preference will be the physical interface IP address. Among the physical interface, it compares the IP addresses. The biggest IP address is taken as the router ID. Now, what I'm saying is, if you're planning to provide router ID manually, it needs to be done in the initial stage. Without providing router ID, if you start configuring OSPF, you configure OSPF in all these three, they already formed a neighbor, assume. They picked up their router ID from loopback interface or physical interface, and now they have already used it to talk to the neighbor. At this point, if you try giving router ID manually, router will accept it, but router will say, I can't use it immediately because there is another address already picked up. So the address that you give manually now will be used in the next reboot. Next reboot. So if you want your router ID to be used, manually given router ID to be used, you need to do it right in the beginning. Otherwise, you need to restart the router, which is going to be a disruptive one, not acceptable in the production all the time. Next. Area ID. Area ID defines which area the interface of the router, the interface of the OSPF enabled router belong to. See, a router may be a member of multiple areas. I may have a router which has got one interface in area 0, another interface in area 1, another interface in area 2. So, what is area ID? Area ID defines to which area this interface belong to on the router where you run OSPF. But this router is completely immersed into area 1. So you can say here area ID defines what area this router belongs to. But when it comes to the border routers, the link. So area ID defines the area to which the interface belongs to. Is more appropriate. Next, we got process ID. The process IDs are locally significant. They are just to differentiate one OSPF from the other, meaning I can have more than one OSPF on this router. One OSPF is going to be for this autonomous system. I'll have another OSPF, and this will be part of another OSPF. It's like two separate protocols. And routes learned via this link will never be given to this link, never, unless you redistribute. So this router now has got two OSPF. To differentiate one OSPF from the other, you need process ID. That is locally significant. The process ID of this router is 1. The process ID of this router can be 10, nothing wrong in it, because this is locally significant. Whereas the area ID of this port and the area ID of this port should be same. Otherwise they don't form neighbor, because they are globally significant. Process ID is locally significant, area ID is globally significant. What about router ID? Globally significant. Sorry, it needs to be unique globally. Yeah, of course, globally significant. It needs to be unique. Every router should have a unique router ID. I want to tell you something which may not be relevant for you now, but it will be useful when you come to a higher level of studies. Like I told you can have more than one OSPF. Each OSPF needs separate process ID. Not only that, separate router ID. Yeah, they will have two different identification. OSPF 1, OSPF 2. Both needs unique router ID. They can't share, they should not. Same router ID is not allowed. On one single router, you may have multiple OSPF. Each OSPF needs a unique router ID. They don't share same address as router ID. For example, if first OSPF picks the loopback interface and second OSPF, if there is no loopback interface, it will pick the physical interface address as router ID. And also we learned that the timers of sending hello packet to discover neighbor is 10 seconds. If the neighbor is not sending hello for 40 seconds, the neighbor is considered dead. Sorry. Dead. Hello. Hello packet is every 10 seconds. If a neighbor, after forming adjacency, after forming neighborship, if the neighbor is not sending hello every 10 seconds, the neighbor is considered dead. This timer can be changed, but if you change, you have to change it on every router. Why? When a hello packet is sent, in that hello packet, the whole time, the router ID, area ID, the links. Yes, subnet. And the cost and the stub type. We'll talk about this later. And the authentication and authentication type. All these are going in hello packet every 10 seconds. And in which few things must match. Area ID must match. The whole time must match. Subnet must match. Must match. If they don't match, the neighborship won't come up. So if you're changing on one router, you should change it on other router. Neighbors. All this goes in hello packet. But again, don't worry about this. This is not in Ccna, but good to know. We learn in these things in detail when we come to CCNP. So now OSPF also supports NBMA. This I did not cover in the previous class. Non-broadcast multi-access, meaning it is not a broadcast environment, it is a non-broadcast environment. In non-broadcast multi-access, the timers are 30 seconds and 120 seconds. The hellos are sent every 30 seconds. And if the neighbor is not sending hello for 4 times of hello, which is 120 seconds, the neighbor is considered dead. So in NBMA, the frequent is less. There in a LAN environment, hellos are sent every 10 seconds to the neighbor router. In NBMA environment, only 30 seconds. And 4 times of hello is dead. See, 4 multiplied by 10 is 40. 4 multiplied by 30 is 120. 4 times. Right, so these things are enough for now. No, one more thing I want to add today. So I fear that today we cannot have lab. We need to continue with some theories. OSPF adjacency state. This is also going to be repeated again when you come to CCNP. But now itself I want to give you some good input so that you will have less pressure when you come to NP. OSPF adjacency state. Forming neighbor is what we call here as adjacency. But in OSPF they will give 2 different meaning for adjacency and neighbor. In English word adjacency, neighborship, both are same. Now, what is the meaning? Adjacency. Adjacency is fully synchronized neighborship. Neighborship is simply, simply, I know you, you know me, that's all. Means we know, but not in depth. I know your name, you know my name. That is neighborship. He's my neighbor. Adjacency is All that I know, you know. All that you know, I know. Everything about you, I know. That's fully synchronized. So, if someone wants something, I know that you can do it. No doubt in it. I don't need to come and ask whether you can do it or not. I know very well your capability. So I just say, fine, we'll do it. You know, let's say you have a company and you got a partner in your company. You have a skill set, he has got another skill set. So you join together and you started a company so that whatever you know you will do, whatever he know he will do. Unity is strength. So when two people join and do things more successful, the company will be. So you both joined and you registered a company and you are running company. Now a project is coming, you can't do, and you know very well your partner can do this because you know his capability. And you take the project and you finish it. So you see, this is what called as adjacency. You did not take your partner's approval whether to take this project or not. You simply accept it, hoping that your partner can finish it, and he did it, which means full adjacency. Likewise, he takes project which he don't know, but you can do it. In OSPF, forming neighbor, after forming neighbor, sharing the database so that both the database will get synchronized and have an identical database. That's called adjacency. So initially between the two routers, it will be in a down state. OSPF is in down state, meaning you might have finished configuring OSPF here, but not on the other side. So it is in down state. Or both the interface are down, shut down, it's in a down state. So when you say no shutdown, this router or that router, any one of this router will be sending the first packet saying, hey, my router ID is 1.1.1.1. This is my router ID. This sends a hello packet to the multicast address 224.0.0.5. Now when router 2 receives it, router 2 learns that I got a neighbor called 1.1.1.1. Now router 2 will send its hello packet to the same multicast address, and this time it will also say my neighbor. My router ID is 2.2.2.2. I have a neighbor called 1.1.1.1. Now when this packet comes, router 2 understands that I have a neighbor 2222 who knows me already. Router 1 understands that I have a neighbor 2222 But he knows me already because I can see myself in the neighbor list. Now, this step in the black is called as init state, initialization state, init state. This one, the reply to the init state, which makes R1 to understand R2 is already knowing me, which is called as two-way state. Two-way. Both know each other now, no? So R1 concludes that he knows me, I also know him, so we are in two-way state. Once they know each other, they have to agree on master and slave for time being. That master and slave is not for lifetime. For time being, one should be a master, one should be a slave. So they compare the router ID, and router 2 says we are the master. And router 1 will say we are slave. Now why do we need this? And what is the name of the state, Xstart state. The state is called as Xstart state. Exchange start. So they want to exchange something, they want to start the exchange of database. To decide who will start first, who will give the exchange, who will start the database sharing first. They need to take this decision of master and slave. And the elected master will first do his exchange, its database. So master sends the DBD, database description. That is why they need that master slave election, extract state. So now once they decide, okay, I'll send it, you don't send it, let me send it after I send, you can send it following me, after me. There's no more slave and no more master now, because they now know who to start and who should follow. Master has started for sending DBD. For that DBD, acknowledgement as well as DBD of the slave is sent. This is what called as exchange state. Exchange state. Now, once they finish exchanging the database, see, OSPF maintains a big database called LSDB, Link State Database, LSDB. DBD is the summary of the link state database. It's the same LSDB only, but in a short form, in a summarized form. DBD is not detailed. LSDB is detailed. To reduce the size and process utilization, it is summarized and sent. Yeah, summarizing reduces time taken and bandwidth taken. So because it's a summarized one, there may be some clarification needed. When someone tells you a life story, if they are really clever, wise, if they really want us to listen to them, they will summarize and send. That 25-year story he will not say for 25 years to me. He has to finish in 20 minutes. according to psychology, one cannot focus more than 20 minutes. So if he finishes his 25-year story in 20 minutes, it is good for him, and like I can help him. Anyway, he has told the story in 20 minutes, but it's a 25-year story, right? And I understood all that he said in 20 minutes, but I want some clarification on some areas. What I do, I query him. Okay, is it true? This happened in your life? Okay. How this one happened? I ask him. How this one happened? Then he starts replying in detail that portion of his story. Likewise, these two routers, they receive only DBD summary, so they need some clarification. Let's say this is asking LSR, link state request. I need some clarification on this particular link state. We call it as LSR. As a reply to LSR, LSU will come, link state update. This is going to be unicast. They ask the neighbor, they already know the neighbor's IP address. They ask the neighbor as unicast, not multicast. We call this as loading state. The doubt clarification state is what? Loading state. And then after loading, they reach full state once they are fully synchronized. Once they don't have any doubts. Full state. This is what the 7 states that you have. You see, init state, two-way state, extart state, exchange state, loading state, and full state. Did I miss anything? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there is one more called down state. No. Yeah, I think I didn't add the down state. Correct. Down state. Totally 7 states. Down state, init state, two-way state. Extra state, exchange state, loading state, full state. 7 states of adjacency. 7 states in adjacency. Yes. Yes, please, question. This is one of the interview question, okay? In India, not in India. MTU mismatch. See, MTU on mismatching nowadays devices. We don't play with MTU unnecessarily. MTU is maximum transmission unit. We adjust it only when we are dealing with some tunneling concepts, some sort of encapsulations. We don't generally do that frequently. This is a question which is asked to put the people down, unnecessary, not really relevant to production. But I want to answer this because it is asked in the interview. Maximum transmission unit, if it is different on two edges, meaning on R1, MTU is like 1500, let's say, and R2 side, it is like 460, something like that. So there is a difference of 40 MTU. OSPF will not come. It will get stuck in the extart state. That is what the answer that they are expecting. But the Question to them is why in first place the MTU is mismatched? What is the reason? Yeah, what is the reason why you have different MTU? Is it not enterprises? Am I not appearing for an enterprises interview? Now give me one reason why you have changed the MTU on the other side. If you don't answer that question, hmm, why jumbo free? Are you sending any fiber channel traffic there? You are inside the enterprises. So you answer him if he asks the question, but again, you should not keep your question to yourself. You also need to ask him the question, so that this type of questions they won't ask unnecessarily. And it's an unnecessary question, and this become very popular question for for the interviewers. Ask something useful. That's what I want to say. I'm not talking to you, I am talking to the interviewer. Ask him why there is a mismatch in MTU next time. First answer his question, then ask him, sir, I really don't know. Can you please tell me why there is a mismatch in MTU in your organization? Now he will be blabbering something. There is no genuine reason to have a mismatch MTU. Okay, if mismatch MTU, go and change. Why you play with? Why you stuck? Why you confuse yourself with OSPF? Go and change the MTU on the other side. Unless someone has played with MTU, there won't be a mismatch. Mismatch in MTU, then which someone has made it mismatch. First reason why that someone did that. There is no reason. This is a question which they unnecessarily should in the interview. But everyone knows this question because it's a Google question. And everyone has Googled and went to the interview. They will also answer saying it will get stuck in extra state, and only when you match with the MTU, it is going to form adjacency. But why are you wasting time? Ask something useful. That's what my request to those people who really want to interview. Interviewer should be an expert, not a Google guy. Real experts sit in the panel. Otherwise, try avoiding it. Because when fake people sit in panel, only fake people will be getting elected for the job, not real people. Real stuff people, you don't know how to evaluate them because you are a fake interviewer. You are a fake. How will you identify a real one? So, fake interviewers don't sit in the panel. If you are really expert, sit. And you will be the best employee in the company because you can pick a best employee by interviewing. The company will also become best. Indian market, thieves, looters, frauds. Because of them, real, capable, knowledgeable, skilled people don't get job. and they run to other countries, or they die, or they go back to farming. Cheap people who wants everything for themselves are now in industry today, in IT industry. They closed all the jobs for their own selfish motto. All the thieves have joined together after this corona in the IT sector. All the thieves in all companies, they all joined and they say this is black market and this is white market. And they call people who are self-motivated as black market people. And those who give under the table are white market people now. I'm totally rejected because I'm self in everything. And these all looters, they join hands now. And those people who are freelancers, those people who do something great by themselves with the ability God has given, they're all cornered. They're all considered as blacklist market people. A day is coming. You will be identified. Even identity, the IT companies have got backdoors, too much backdoors. All because of this fake people sitting as a HR and interviewing. All selfish. They spoil their company, they spoil others' life as well. Yes, please, sir. Yeah, it will be stuck in two-way state. It won't cross extra state. Both the routers know themselves as neighbor, but they don't exchange any route updates, no database sharing. All right. So we